thank you for joining us. I'm Joy.
And I'm Laura.
And this is The Witches of Letters, a supernatural rewatch podcast.
Buckle up as we dive into Season 2, Episode 17, Heart.
What are your feelings on this episode? I feel like everybody has very strong feelings for this episode.
I really liked it, but it made me cry.
Yep. Yep.
It was a good episode.
You know how I have the Leave Taylor Alone campaign? I feel like that extends into this episode where it's like Leave Werewolf Girls Alone campaign. Because she did not, in fact, actually kill anyone who didn't deserve it, in my opinion. Like, her ex was stalking her. Her boss was sexually harassing her all day, every day. Can I just say? Rest in peace, disgracefully, the 2000s. Then, like, well, I guess it's kind of now too. We're kind of having a resurgence now, aren't we? Ugh.
Yeah.
But like the cop, she didn't kill him until he tried to kill her. Also, I maintain that could have been the other dude. Like that could have been the guy that bit her. We don't have evidence that was her. So as far as I'm concerned, the only things that we know she did, she knocked Dean unconscious. Hilarious. She didn't kill him. She runs past Sam, but doesn't really hurt Sam. She just kills guys who deserve to be killed. Frankly, like I feel like leave her alone. She should have just been left alone because she wasn't killing. Like, she was clearly still in there. And I just feel like she should have just been, like, left to live. And they could have had, like, Sam could have had a sexy werewolf girlfriend who helped them kill demons every full moon.
Oh, it's like Buffy again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, they could just lock her up in a cage every full moon like they
They were all like, but you'll get out. And I'm like, that just sounds like you're just not trying. Okay, guys? Like, that just sounds like, they were like, but you'll escape sometime. And I was like,
in fairness,
why?
Oz did get out quite a few times with Buffy.
That's true. That's true. But I just feel like in Supernatural, I know that we're not there yet, and I can't say what I was going to say because it's a spoiler. But I just feel like Sam and Dean could figure something out. Like, there's devil traps for demons. There has to be some magical equivalent for a werewolf.
Yeah, or like some sort of brand like the demon did on Sam that time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, Sam did say he wanted to try and find something.
Yeah.
He said, but she was the one that told him to do it.
Yeah, Sam was like, let's fix this. And Dean and her were like, nope, doom, noble sacrifice. And I just feel like, no.
Yeah.
Because her whole story, like, it's really upsetting to me as a girl that loves horror, because this whole episode is pink horror. But instead of it ending with, like, vengeance, and she gets to go on and live her life in Power Green, it's not really. Like, she's heroic, but she ends up being killed for something that was not her fault. Like, she was attacked by a man who was super fucked up and wanted to get into her pants, and for that she ends up being killed. And that feels icky to me. That does not sit right with me in any way, shape, or form. Like, I feel like this could have been more like a Jennifer's Body kind of a story, and it just doesn't land like that. So yeah, leave werewolves alone. The girls.
Just the girls.
The she-wolves. Just the she-wolves.
I liked how we had Sam's sexy time. It was like Dean's Route 66
my days
moment. But for Sam.
It was. And that was hot. That was so hot.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that. That's just like, I literally just drew a fire emoji.
Yeah. I don't think we need to say anything else. I think people get it.
Yeah, they do.
The crying scene at the end was really sad. And I've written in my preamble notes, his crying scene broke my heart, but I actually was crying.
Yeah.
I wanted Sam to be able to save Madison because she is like him, human and good, but maybe with a monster inside. He wants to believe that she can be saved, but he couldn't save her. And also, I think that's why Dean was crying at the end too. Either that or just because he felt that his brother was going through, like, he could see all the raw emotion and that made him sad that Sam was going through that.
I like to think a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. Like, I like to think it's that Dean thought that this situation was horrible and felt really bad for Madison.
Yeah.
And I think also to him, he would see Madison as a hero because Madison saw herself the same way that he saw her, as a threat to other people, and decided to protect other people, and that will immediately earn his respect. So
Yeah.
she was willing to lay down her life just like a hunter to save innocent people. And that's always going to get his love and respect. And then on top of that, there's the layer of like, he knows that Sam loves her. So I think to a degree, he loves her too. Because if your family member really loves someone and you could see them having a long term relationship with them, if things weren't so fucked, then you also kind of automatically care about them. And I think there's so many layers to it, and that's why it's so sad. It's like a 10 out of
Yeah,
10 sad. I
definitely.
rewatch it because I kind of like to do what I like to do with the other episode, because it is another book boyfriend episode, but this time it's Sam. And like it's just the best of like if Twilight wasn't shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like if Twilight was not shit, you would have this.
Yeah.
So I like to stop it after they have their fun times and they're all happy. And that's where I end the episode. That's Joy Canon. So if you want
Yeah.
to have
We
a
don't want to
different,
watch the last bit.
yeah, just stop it after the funny, happy, like sexy times moments, and that's where the episode ends.
Yeah, I agree.
Because like, leave Madison alone.
Mhm.
Okay, leave Madison alone.
Yeah, it was so sad. So I have a fun fact about the last scene actually, which I thought I'd put in the preamble.
Okay.
So the bit where I was saying it broke my heart. Now, this is even more sad. So on IMDb, I found this, which says Jared Padalecki says that during the filming of the final scene in this episode where he has to kill Madison, in order to find the emotion, since it was still early days and the actors say they weren't as tuned into their characters as they are now, Jared thought about the traumatic experience of having to euthanize two of his beloved dogs, Sadie and Harley. They're cute names. As a result, he got extremely emotional, and those are very real tears. And Jensen Ackles backed that up, saying that his own emotions on screen welled up because he knew how much it would hurt Jared personally to have to call up those emotions and suffer through them in order to have Sam be visibly upset on screen. Jensen's tears came as a result of watching his close friend go through such painful emotions. And I just put in my notes, what are you trying to do to us, Supernatural?
Why? Why do they want to hurt us and our like emotional damage, guys?
Yeah, it was sad
Emotional
enough. Now,
damage.
when I watch it again, I'm going to think about Jared thinking about his
Oh
dogs.
no. No.
And now all of
Oh.
you will too. So, well, you're welcome.
Oh, thank you for dragging us down with you, Laura. Appreciate it.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for.
So yeah, so I am going to change the topic because that was very upsetting. So I'm just going to pretend like that never happened. It was a good behind the scenes fact, but it made me sad. So
Yeah.
yeah. Although I will say briefly that like the fact that Jensen got so upset that he was able to do his scene because Jared announced that that's what he was doing, I guess, is kind of beautiful. Like Jensen obviously really cares about Jared, and
Yeah, that was really cute.
that's super cute.
And
That's
it,
what
like
I'm
I say, it was
keeping
so
from that.
early on as well. That's nice.
Yeah,
But they were already
they were
close.
besties. They were already getting. No, it was Jared that did that. It wasn't. Jared got super drunk. They were living together while they were filming. I think it was season 1, and Jensen was friends with Tom Welling, who plays Superman on Smallville. And Jared got super drunk and ate barbecue while he was super drunk. And his brain was just like, I just ate barbecue. And Jensen tells it like it was raw, marinated, uncooked barbecue, which feels appropriate for a werewolf story time. So like Jared became a werewolf while drunk, I guess, and then was super sick filming. I cannot remember what episode it was, but I bet if I look it up, I can find it out. But he was super sick filming that day because obviously he ate a bunch of raw beef, which is just like don't do that. Do not do that.
No.
But just like imagine being so wasted. You're like, oh yeah, it's barbecue. This seems kind of like a weird texture, but it's nice. Like, what?
I feel like I might have heard that before, so I don't know if you've mentioned it before on maybe the episode it was, or if you've just told me before in private. I can't remember now.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's funny.
Well, I guess the listeners can let me know if I just repeated myself or not. But yeah,
Well, then we
that's
might
what it
find
made
out
me
what
think
episode it
of.
was.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Tell us in the comments, guys.
because we've forgotten already.
Yeah, we have no idea. We're not even in like season 3 and it's already getting confusing.
Yeah.
So I feel like for me personally, I think we're at the end of what Kripke had pre-written for Supernatural at this point. So this is another Sarah Gamble episode, and it was directed by Kim Manners. And there's some really funny behind the scenes from this episode where like the actress who plays Madison and Jared are just completely goofing around and Jensen is in the background being like, it's so funny. It's so funny. Highly recommend the outtakes from season 2. They are hilarious. And then this is also the rock paper scissors outtake, which
Oh
is
yeah, I
up
love that bit.
as a reel on our page. It's so cute. I love it. And I love that rock paper scissors becomes like a whole thing. But just to kind of circle back briefly, I do think this is the end of what Kripke had already written. So, like, when you're going to pitch a show, usually you'll have, like, either a whole set of scripts or a whole outline. So, like, you'll have so many scripts for season 1. Like, you might have written the first 5 scripts, and they'll have an outline for how you expect it to go from season 1 to maybe season 2 or something to show people. I think
Yeah.
that we've hit the end point of where he'd taken X-Files research and other stuff and like compiled it and turned it into Supernatural. Because Laura said before in her behind the scenes facts that originally it was like brothers who were it was a journalist who was going around discovering all these things and not being believed. And then the brothers angle got added as the process went on. And the reason why I say that is because now when I'm looking for the Easter eggs, I'm having to truly hunt and things don't match up to the locations. Whereas when we were in all the Kripke episodes, everything matched up so easily and there was so much stuff. So I definitely, and also this one's been written to be set in San Francisco and California. And Kripke said so many times that he specifically targeted like the Midwest and all these other places. So like Easter eggs won't stop. I'll always have Easter eggs for you, but I think that we have officially hit the end of the road of like purposeful original Kripke Easter eggs. And I felt like that was worth sharing, basically.
Did he take a step back on the show then at this point?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Okay.
looks like it. Like he's still there. He's still like executive producing. But from what I've heard in various interviews, my assumption from what I've gathered is that he was very present during season 1 and then sort of it is around on and off for season 2, but is more kind of hands off. So like he's done his job as the showrunner. He's created the show, he's created the characters, he's fostered them, he's put in the story arc and the direction that things should go in. But at this point, there's a new team of writers who are now actively in charge. And I know that Sarah Gamble takes charge at some point, I think between now or maybe after season 5, because I know that Kripke was involved enough that his original ending was season 5. Like he'd written it originally to end after 5 seasons. And then
Okay.
sort of like things got changed. So he's around in some way, shape, or form until then. And I think there's just like a core group of writers that take on the vision and keep going with it. But I don't think that Kripke is as involved as he was. Like, I think season 1, he was very hands on. It was his baby. Season 2, I think things have sort of shifted.
Okay. I think I'd heard that, the first 5 seasons were like him. I just assumed he was as heavily involved until season 5 or 6. So that's
And
interesting.
it might be that he's involved, but it might be that we've run out of his pre written material.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what I'm saying. Like, not so much that he's not there, but that like other writers are doing more of the writing and his pre-written material has like run dry at this point because we've used it all up.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna look and see if Google knows. Yeah, so he left the show as a showrunner at the end of season 5.
Okay.
He said that he left because he felt he was pushing his limits and that it was difficult to develop 22 episode seasons with hour-long episodes. He also said that the pressure of creating the show had become too much for him. So, like, originally, the ending at season 5, which I think is, in my opinion, without having rewatched the ending of 15, I always thought that was the better one. Like, there's me and a lot of other people thought it should have ended at season 5. Um, Now in a lot of ways, I'm happy that it didn't, but,
Yeah.
um, like, originally in season 6, I was very confused as to, like, what was going on because season 5 had the perfect ending, in my opinion, at the time, and it really changes the flavor and the tone of the world once you keep going after season 5.
Okay. I'm interested now to know what happens.
Yeah,
We'll get there eventually.
yeah.
Should I do the synopsis then?
Yes, please.
So this is season 2, episode 17, Heart. The original air date for this episode was March 22nd, 2007. Sam and Dean investigate a series of deaths caused by a werewolf. To start with, they think it's the stalker ex-boyfriend of a girl named Madison, as one of the victims was her boss, and Madison said that her boss and boyfriend had had a fight recently when the boyfriend thought she was having an affair with her boss. But while staking out his place on the night of a full moon, Dean encounters the real werewolf, and it's Madison. She attacks him, but he manages to wound her and she flees. In the morning, Dean calls Sam to tell him it's Madison, but Sam doesn't believe him. Dean tells him to check her arm for the wound, which he does, and sees that Dean is telling the truth. Sam, trying to save Madison, as he now has feelings for her, decides to test a theory that killing the wolf who turned her might cure her. They find out that her neighbour Glen was the werewolf who turned her, and they kill him. This seems to work, as she doesn't turn that night, but the next night Madison turns again after sleeping with Sam and runs away. They track her down, and Madison asks Sam to kill her as she doesn't want to hurt anyone else. Sam still wants to save her, but has to admit defeat as they have no other options. The episode ends with Sam shooting Madison after a very emotional scene where they all come to terms with their situation.
Yeah, it's an intense episode.
Yeah, but it's really good up until the point, that last scene.
Yeah.
Well, that's still good as well.
It is
But
still good. It is, I have to say, like, as much as I have had words for Sarah Gamble in the past, I do think she's a great writer. And I think that you can see that in this episode.
yeah, yeah, I like it.
Hmm.
So in the opening scene, we see a group of women having drinks in a bar, and the boss of one of them. I couldn't work out if they all worked together or if they were just friends, but it doesn't really matter. Um,
Hmm.
Madison's boss comes over and says she needs to go back to the office with him, and he's trying to hit on her. She says that it isn't working, so then he asks her to drive him home as he's been drinking, and she says that she's already ordered him a cab and she'll see him in the morning. And I wrote, dude, why are you hitting on people who work for you?
It's so gross. So, like,
Yeah,
for people who are younger or don't remember, or were not born, just straight up weren't born yet. Before Monica Lewinsky's second resurgence in public opinion, it was really socially acceptable for your boss to hit on you. Like, there was nothing in
ugh,
place to protect you at work. There was no understanding of the power dynamics. That's something that happened a lot more recently. And a lot of why that happened was because she came forward. There was a documentary that was done about her saying that the hatred that she was received was really unfair because one of the most powerful men in the world was pressuring her for favors at work, at her place of work, and she was in a position of, like, not power. Like, that's a very scary position to be
yeah,
in, and that's when the social consciousness of, like, the fact that there is a power dynamic issue when bosses, employees, etc., hit on people in these positions where they're more vulnerable. So when this was filmed and released, we hadn't had that happen yet, and you can tell to a degree because of the way that Madison reacts in the situation and the way that the sense of humor is built around this in the episode. It's saying it without saying it. Um, she laughs it off. And it's
yeah,
kind of like a horrible reminder for those of us who, like, lived it or maybe are living it. 'Cause it's not to say that it doesn't happen now, just because people know that it's wrong. Like, people know a lot of things are wrong and it still happens, but, like, it was so socially acceptable and it was so scary how socially acceptable it was. Like, I remember being at university and being, like, young, but not super young, and my professor was hitting on me and, like, harassing me in and out of class, making inappropriate comments, and
Yeah.
when I went to my mom slash the school board about it, they were like, "Well, legally, you're an adult, so he's not doing anything wrong." And it's like, that person is the person who's controlling my grade.
Yeah.
And but there was no idea, there was no social, awareness or thought process into the fact that, like, if someone who has direct power over you, like, pays your paychecks, writes your grades, is harassing you or coming on to you, that that's really inappropriate because there's an inappropriate power dynamic in that situation. And,
Yeah.
like, this episode is a great example of that because he's so sleazy. Like, he's her boss, and he says, "Hey, Maddie, listen, I hate to pull you away, but I'm gonna need you to come back to the office with me." And she's like, "Really?" And he says, "Yeah, it turns out I've got to file those documents by midnight." And Madison's like, "Midnight? Because that doesn't make any sense."
No.
And he says, "Yeah, I'm gonna need you to he's trying to get her back to an isolated area in the office under the guise of, like, "You have to come to work with me."
Yeah. And he's really drunk as well.
It's disgusting. And then when that doesn't work, he changes his tactic and says, "Listen, I've had a couple. I shouldn't really drive. Could you just give me a lift home?" Again, her boss.
Yeah. It's like, no, you're just
Be-
trying to get this. So obvious that he's just trying to get her alone.
it's so predatory and gross and weird. And she's only all right because she's clearly more intelligent than he is. So she's like, "Oh, I already called you a cab." And it's like, these are the kinds of, like, ways that women have to think. This is like daily pink horror to just keep ourselves safe.
Yeah.
But it's the way that it's so open in the episode and she laughs it off. And then when Sam and Dean come, there's no reaction of, like, "Oh, that's gross," or, "Oh, that's creepy." Because it's so socially acceptable in this time period for that to happen.
Yeah.
So I wrote down sexual harassment from a mid-level dude, I assume her boss. And then I was like, yeah, predatory boss chump. And then I wrote gross. And then I
Yeah.
wrote everyday harassment, ha ha ha, because she talks to it about her friends and says, one of her friends says, "Does this happen a lot?" Which is like the only acknowledgement, like, ew.
Yeah.
And she says, "Only on the days that end in Y."
Mm.
And I was like, "God damn." Um, and then her night gets better because she sees this creepy hitchhiker looking dude who is, like, just staring at her the whole time. And I just wrote, this whole episode is an episode of pink horror. That's, like, literally this whole episode.
Yeah, he's just staring at her as well. It's just really creepy.
In a weird, unblinking way.
Yeah, and we know that she feels like in danger because her face instantly drops when she sees him.
Mhm, mhm.
And her friend notices because she's like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And then she
And
looks
then
back and
she
he's
leaves.
disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it also shows you how scary she finds him because her disgusting boss is harassing her. And she's like, "Ha ha ha, ha," laughs it off and handles him really, like, intelligently. But then this one guy is just sitting in a corner in a public place where she's
yeah,
surrounded by people, but she's so scared that she leaves the bar, the
yeah,
public place,
on her
because she
own.
doesn't feel safe, by herself, to go back to her car in a parking lot by herself again. Okay, which again, more pink horror. Because she's trying to get to her car. So she walks and then she hears a noise behind her. And then when she turns around, she doesn't see anything. She keeps walking. She's clearly afraid. This is like the you're clutching your keys in your fist kind of a day.
Yeah, she's
Um,
definitely flustered.
it's awful. And then she gets in the car and drives away, but then the guy who was stalking her continues to stalk her after she drives off. So then I wrote, "Getting back to your car, pink horror edition," is literally what I put in my notes. Um, so
I
yeah.
I had a PSA written in my notes about girls not leaving their friends on a night out, leaving
Yeah.
them anyone alone. Don't leave anyone alone, girls.
No, don't do that.
Never let them walk home alone. Stick together.
Yeah, don't let them walk to their car alone.
It's like, I know we shouldn't have to worry about random men following you home, but unfortunately, even now, we
They
still need
do.
to take precautions to stay
Yep.
safe.
Yeah, it's the buddy system.
Yeah, the buddy system's good though.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have to do it, but it's good and do it.
Yeah, it's true. And then there is this giant dog slash wolf going through the garbage. So I decided to write a summary of what I just seen in my notes. And it says, see Jane, see Dick. See Dick harass Jane. See Jane handle him like a boss. See Jane try to get home safely. See Spot. Is Spot a werewolf? Which, like, again, I don't know if that'll make sense to everyone. Those are the learning to read books where it's like see Dick and see Jane. And it's like see Jane kick the ball, where you're learning how to construct a sentence. Um, but yeah, it made me laugh. And then I wrote see spooky motherfucker emerging from the fog, clearly following Jane.
Hmm.
And then that was the end of that scene.
Yeah. And then the next morning, Madison's at work and she's making a pot of coffee and she notices her boss's door, the office door has blood on it. And when she walks towards the office, she sees a bloody hand through the door. And when she opens the door fully, we see her boss lying on his desk, mutilated. Like his shirt's all torn and his chest is all ripped open, and the office has been ransacked. And then Madison drops the coffee pot and screams, and then that's the end of the opening scene, or when we get the title.
My notes for this are my favorite notes of the whole episode, I think. I wrote, that self-entitled prick didn't even refill the coffee. Because she comes there, clearly operating day of work, and he's like, I'm the man. I don't make the coffee. Just empty, just bone dry. And she's like, oh, for fuck's sake. So she goes to, there's not even water. Not even, he didn't put, like, there's not even any water. She has to walk over to refill the actual thing of water. I was just like, oh, motherfucker. So then I just wrote death be upon him. And then I was like, oh, I was right. So she comes around the corner and sees him like splayed out, vivisected, blood everywhere, gore, guts. His heart is clearly missing. And I wrote, honestly, this seems fair. I was like, obviously his heart's been ripped out. It's gruesome. I love it. 10 out of 10 would recommend to a friend, because I would recommend to a friend. Like, he was her boss. He was harassing her all the time. He could not even be asked to refill the coffee. Like, that seems fair. Like, I just feel like this is, actions having consequences.
Karma.
Okay, right. In the next scene, I don't know whether or not you IMDb'd this, but isn't that woman who's playing the doctor, isn't she from CSI or something?
Oh, I didn't look that up, so I don't know. Maybe.
Hold, please. Okay, so the medical examiner, she was on the X-Files and she was on SG-1 as well. I'm pretty sure I've seen her on CSI at some point, though. I'm looking.
I got a picture. I'm sure I probably did recognize her, but I might
just
not
like
be paying
I
attention.
saw her and I was like, I know your face.
I mean, Sam was in that scene, so
you were distracted. Okay, apparently not. Apparently she's been in SG-1 and the X-Files. And oh no, she's been in Smallville too.
there's a lot of crossover with Smallville, isn't there?
There's a lot of crossover with Smallville. That's cool.
I suppose were they on around the same sort of time? They were going at the same time, weren't they? So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Were they on the same network?
Yes, I think they were. And I think that there was like directors and executive producers that were sort of shared from both shows. So that would make sense. But
that makes sense then, yeah.
I saw her and I was like, I know her. I definitely know her from other things. And now it turns out they were all interrelated.
Yeah. So in this scene that we're talking about, Sam is pretending to be a detective and is at the coroner's office looking at the body. He says it's a pretty nasty bite and asks the coroner if she knows what bit him. She says she isn't sure, but off the record, she thinks he's been attacked by a wolf, but she's going to go with Pitbull as she likes her job. And I wrote, poor Pitbull's being a scapegoat for werewolves.
Yeah, that's not fair.
No, but that's what she's going to put on the report. There was a Pitbull. And Sam asks her if his heart was missing, and she says yeah, and asks how he knew. And he says, lucky guess.
Did you notice that Jared was too tall for this scene?
Isn't he just always too tall for scenes?
The thing is that now that I know it, that he's the same height as Nick, I can't unsee it. and I'm noticing it more and more and more. So if you watch this scene when they first come in, because she's a lot shorter than he is, he's having to like crouch himself down to fit into the same frame as her. And once you've seen it, it's so funny. It's so you can't unsee it. It's great. It's amazing. Definitely, like, if you guys haven't rewatched this episode yet, but you're going to after you listen to this episode, as soon as they go into the opening part where he's in the medical examiner's office and he's being all like hot detective guy, look at how he's slouching himself down so he can fit into the frame. It's adorable.
Yeah. So then we're at a motel, and Sam is telling Dean that over the past year, several women have gone missing and their bodies have later washed up in the bay without hearts. But this is the first man it's happened to.
Mhm.
This didn't really age very well, this scene, because he calls the
It
sex
does not.
workers hookers,
Yeah.
because all of the victims have been sex workers, and says
Yeah.
the cops are looking for a serial killer. And Dean asks about the lunar cycle, and Sam says all the murders have happened in the week leading up to a full moon. And Dean says, "That's this week, right?" And Sam says, "Hence the lawyer." And then Dean gets super excited that they're going to be hunting a werewolf, and it's actually really
I
cute.
have lines and I'm gonna read them because
It's cute.
I love it so much. Okay, I wrote down Dean is so excited. I love him.
Yeah,
And then I
me
write
too.
werewolves are cool in like a geeky kind of like a happy nerdy way because that's how he is. He is so it's oh god, I love this. This gives me life. So Dean's like, which is this week, right? And Sam says, hence the lawyer. And Dean says, awesome. And Sam says, Dean, could you be a bigger geek about this? And Dean says, I'm sorry, man, but what about a human by day, a freak animal killing machine by moonlight? Don't you understand? I mean, werewolves are badass. We haven't seen one since we were kids. And Sam says, okay, Sparky. And you know what? After we kill it, we can go to Disneyland. Um, it's just like so sassy. It's amazing. And Dean says, you know what the best part about it is? We already know how to bring these suckers down. And then he holds up a silver bullet and he says, one of these bad boys right to the heart. So what's our next move? And again, he's just like, he's so happy.
Yeah,
He's
he's
so
really
happy.
excited.
He's A, not right in the head. And B, absolutely adorable. It is so cute. It's like whenever Buffy gets too excited about like there being murders because it means that she gets to fight like a cool monster. And people are like, but people are dying. And she's like, oh yeah. Dean is like that. Like in this moment, he's not thinking about that at all. He's just like, I get to hunt a werewolf. And he's living his best life. And he's feeling like Batman. And that's great. And then the other thing is this scene is also in this season 2 bloopers and outtakes because there's that part where Sam's trying to say no hearts and open his beer bottle, and he cannot physically open this bottle of beer. And Jensen is dying laughing at him. It's so funny. I love it so much. That scene is literally one of my favorites ever.
I'm looking forward to being able to watch the season 2 bloopers at the end of, well, a few episodes maybe.
Yeah, they're so funny.
So they then go to see Madison, and because she's the person who found the body, they tell her they just need to go over a few things from her statement. And Madison introduces Glen, her neighbour, who's round checking on her, and she says that he's sweet. But I sensed red flags right from the start because, first of all, he was wearing a church t-shirt, and I wrote this was giving pillar of the community vibes,
And
which
we
we've
all know
discussed
from
is
true
very
crime,
serial killery.
that's a red flag.
Yeah.
It is very serial killery. And that was such good instincts. I said killery, I think. I don't know.
That's right, that makes sense
I was
to
like killy. It was good. It's fine. I wrote down because they both judge Glenn and his sad church boy attempt to get with this hot neighbor.
Yeah.
Lol. Because both Sam and Dean are looking at Glenn being like, what the fuck, my guy? It is so funny. They're both like, this guy's sus. And Dean is really sarcastic. Madison says, Glenn's like, I guess I'll just leave you to it. And she says, okay, thanks for the casserole. And Dean says, oh, how thoughtful. Like, you have no game and you should be ashamed of yourself. Like, it's just so sarcastic. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Did you get the aliases, the references?
I was going to ask you if you got them. Because I
I
put a
didn't,
star
but
next.
I found it on IMDb though. I didn't know at the time. So they're introduced as detectives Landis and Dante. And it's so Joe Dante directed The Howling from 1981, and John Landis directed An American Werewolf in London from 81. So they're like werewolf film
Ooh,
references, which is cool,
I
rather
love
than
it.
rock references this time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And those are some of my favorite movies. Like,
Yeah.
I can't remember The Howling,
No,
but
I
An
don't know if I've
American
watched that.
Werewolf in London
Yeah, that's really good.
is amazing. That was my costume for Halloween this year. I love it so much.
Yeah, that's a good film. For the next bit, I've just got that Glen leaves and they question Madison about her boss, Nate. And I put it's funny when she says, "You know the type," and sounds like, "Yeah, I do actually."
Yeah, that part is funny. So, okay, dialogue. Sam is talking to Madison after Sad Glen has left, which is how I refer to him. I refer to him
Sad
as
Glen.
Sad Glen.
I just refer
Um,
to him as pillar of the community in my notes.
oh, that's amazing! That's so much better. Sad Glen, comma, pillar of the community. Leaves. Okay. And Sam is talking to Madison and says, you must be pretty shaken up. You were Nate Mulligan's assistant, right?" And she says, "For 2 years, yeah." And Dean says, "So you knew all about him?" And she said, "Probably knew more about him than he did. Nate was." And then she smiles, but it's like a weird smile. And she
Yeah.
says, "He was nice." Because we all know that's
No, he
code for
wasn't.
he was gross.
He was not nice.
And Sam says, "But," because Sam picks up on the vibe. And Madison says, "Nothing really. He had a few scotches in him. He'd started hitting on anyone in a 5-mile radius. You know the type." And
Yeah,
Sam
gross.
notices that Dean is practically drooling over Madison at this point and gives him this really pointed look and says, "Yeah, I do actually." And that is hilarious. And then in the notes it says, so Supernatural Wiki, the transcript says, "Dean, his lecherous grin fades as he hears Sam's tone and he becomes serious." Which is a really good description.
Yeah, that's
I
funny.
wrote, "Dean, you're fired." And Dean said, did he have any enemies?" Madison says, "What do you mean? It sure looked like an animal attack." And Dean says, "No, yeah, we're just covering all the bases. Anyone that might have had a beef with him, a former client, an ex." And Sam sees her think of someone, and he's like, "What?" And Madison said, "Well, this is embarrassing, but my ex-boyfriend, Kurt." And Dean interrupts and says, "Kurt have a last name?" And she says, "Mueller. After we broke up, he went kind of nuts. He's kind of been stalking me. He got it in his head that something was going on between Nate and I. He showed up at my office." And Sam says, "What happened?" And Madison says, "Kurt got into it with Nate, threw a punch before security grabbed him. I was lucky to keep my job." And Dean says, "Was that the last time that you saw Kurt?" And Madison says, "A few nights ago, actually, the night that Nate died. We were all grabbing drinks at this bar and Kurt just showed up." And Dean says, And Madison says, "Nothing. He was watching me and then he was gone. To tell you the truth, he scares me."
Yeah, because he's creepy.
I was like, so she's being stalked by an ex. And then he accuses her of cheating with the guy who's harassing her all day and all night. And then came to her job and assaulted her boss and then proceeded to stalk her. And like, that's the train of events in Madison's life. And then later on, she gets mugged, air quotes, but we now know, because we've seen the whole episode, that that was fucking the pillar of the community, Sad Glen, who just bit the back of her neck because he's a fucking freak. So, like, Madison deserves better. Okay?
Yeah.
Madison deserves so much better than the way that this episode ends. And headcanon, you guys have to stop it after the schmexy fun times, okay? Like, let it get to all the cute just let her live in your head with Sam. I don't know, but that's where she lives in my head because
Yeah.
I reject that she gets killed at the end of this episode because it's not fair.
No. And it was sad. So, yeah, so they leave Madison's house and discuss that they think Kurt must be the werewolf, and then they decide to pay him a visit. But before that, we cut back to Madison, who hears a noise outside. So she looks out her window, and Kurt is standing there. I wrote, Kurt is standing there like the clown in the clown episode was standing in the garden, just staring.
That's a really accurate note.
He just needed a balloon.
Hey, yeah, a red balloon. A solo red balloon.
But then he disappears because she looks away and then looks back and he's gone. And at this point, I was actually questioning whether he was real or if she was imagining him because he kept
Mm.
disappearing when she looked away. Yeah, I don't know if that's what we were made to think. I don't know.
I thought that he was the werewolf.
Yeah,
Like, that was, like, the red herring, and it got me. Even though I knew that like, I couldn't remember who bit who. So, in my head, I thought he was the werewolf, and he must have, like, bitten her, attacked her as part of
yeah,
his craziness. So that's where I was thinking it was going, at this part of the episode. So it was really good when, like, the plot twist comes in later, um, because I
yeah,
forgot all about it.
yeah. So Sam and Dean break into Kurt's house and start looking around. We get a shot that makes it look like someone or something is watching them as well. This happens a few times in the episode. Dean is looking in the fridge, and Sam says maybe there's some human hearts behind the Haagen-Dazs or something. I thought it was funny.
That's funny.
And then they hear a noise outside, and Dean goes to the balcony to check it out. He notices something and calls Sam out to have a look, and they um, see these massive claw mark type scratches on the wall. So it's like, is that supposed to be? They think he's been climbing in and out of his own apartment, but obviously we know
Yeah.
it's not him now. But yeah,
Yeah. So my notes for this scene are pretty funny. I just wrote, Sam and Dean break into Kurt's apartment. Someone is watching them from wolf height. And then Dean goes outside and finds werewolf claw marks on the concrete. And that made me laugh a little bit because that's not really how physics works, but okay. Um, and then I wrote, is he on the balcony in full view while committing another felony? Sure. But at least it's dark out, okay? Because usually when they break and enter and then they go outside, it's like full daytime.
yeah,
Sometimes there's cops nearby.
or
This
inside the
time,
building.
yeah. This time he casually strolls out in full view of the balcony, but it's dark. They're making progress.
So on the street, we see a policeman who hears a commotion down an alleyway, and he starts to wander down with his torch out, and we get the point of view from an animal watching him again, approach from behind like a bin.
Hmm.
As the policeman gets closer, the animal attacks him, and then we cut back to Sam and Dean in the apartment, and they hear a gunshot and run outside to find the policeman mauled to death in the alley, much like the first victim. Um, I thought it was hot how they both just dropped what they were doing and ran out to help.
Yeah, it was hot.
Because they hear this sound, they don't even say anything to each other, they just look and then run.
Yeah, it's sexy. It's heroic.
Yeah. Sam says he's going to call 911, and Dean says Kurt is looking more and more like their Cujo. And I wrote, Stephen King reference for
Stephen
the
King.
win.
Yep. Stephen King.
And Sam says they should probably check on Madison.
There is actually like really awesome gore as well, where the cop's
Yeah.
body gets exposed because it's just like his guts are everywhere. It's super bloody. Like the gore in this episode is 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like I
it
really
is.
like the sudden reveals. It definitely has vibes of like an American Werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really well done. Special effects are really well done. Definitely recommend this for like a Halloween rewatch or something like that. If you're in the mood for something spooky, this is a really good episode for stuff like that.
Yeah. I feel like I'll rewatch this one because it's good.
For sure.
So we cut to Madison's apartment and they knock on her door, but pillar of the community, Glen, opens his door across the hall and asks them what's going on. And I went, none of your business, Glen, that's what's going on. And because me and Dean are the same person again, Dean says, police business, Glen.
Yeah, he's like, fuck off, Glen. It's great. And then Madison opens the door and says, what is it? And Sam, who's looking at pillar of the community, sad Glen, says, well, maybe we should talk privately. Like, fuck off, Glen. So, like, both of them are like, fuck off, Glen, you're gross. Which, excellent instincts, by the way. Can I just say, like, they identified the bad guy from the beginning.
Although they didn't, like, say he was bad guy.
No, but they both act like they're disgusted by him. And that's everything to me.
Yeah. So they ask Madison if Kurt has been around, and she tells them that he was outside last night being a clown. Sam's face here is funny because he sighs and looks so annoyed with Kurt, like he's thinking, how dare he look at you? You're my girlfriend.
Yeah, but boyfriend.
And Dean says one of them should stay there with her while the other one goes to Kurt's work to see if he's there. and she goes to get the address, and then Sam and Dean have an argument about who gets to stay with the hot girl and who has to go after the, quotes, creepy ex.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized I misheard I don't know if I misheard a line or that I choose to believe I heard it correctly and that they heard it wrong because my version's better. Okay, so I'm going to read it to you. So, Madison says he owns a body shop and Dean says, "You mind grabbing that address for us?" And then he says, "Thanks." And then Sam says, "All right, you go, I'll stay." And Dean says, "Forget that. You go after the creepy ex. I'm going to hang here with the hot chick." And Sam says, "Dude, why do you always get to hang out with the girls?" And Dean says, "'Cause I'm Mulder." And that just goes back to the whole, like, Mulder, Scully thing. And
He
I was
says
just like,
older.
so that's what they say they heard. I'm telling you, I heard Mulder. I think it's Mulder and Scully banter. That's what I choose to believe. Guys. Okay, that's the
I
quote.
mean,
I'm
either
making
way.
it official.
Yeah.
Trademark. The official quote. Mulder. But yeah, it does work either way. So Dean drinks his coffee and smiles with this like, "I'm gonna get my way" kind of a look. And Sam looks at him with just like, "Oh, this is absolute bullshit." And then he says, "No, screw that. We'll settle this the old fashioned way." This is so cute. It's my favorite thing
I love this bit.
just ever, ever. So Sam takes the coffee cups and sets them down and then raises his fist for rock, paper, scissors. And Dean plays along. And then he picks scissors while Sam chooses rock. And Sam mocks him and is like, "Dean, always with the scissors." And Sam slaps Dean on the shoulder. And Dean's like, shut up, 2 out of 3. And Sam sighs like he's long suffering and way smarter. But they decide to play again. And Sam's rock once again beats Dean's scissors. And he's so frustrated. He's like, "God." And Sam says, "Bundle up out there, all right?"
It's how he looks surprised when he loses. It's really funny.
It's just the best thing ever. It's my favorite thing. That is the rock, paper, scissors outtake that I mentioned from the beginning. We have a reel of it, and it is priceless. Please go and watch it. It's everything to me. But this scene just like, oh, it gives me life. It gives me life. And Dean is so simple and gets trashed by Sam, and he absolutely deserves it.
Yeah. So Dean leaves and Sam is left there with Madison, and he's so awkward in this bit. But it's cute though. Yeah, it's cute.
He is adorable. I wrote he passes the gentleman test.
Yeah. I have a question though. You know when she like tips a whole load of underwear in front of him?
Yeah.
Does she not wash any other clothes? It was just a whole basket full of underwear.
Listen, I feel like she must have just done all of her delicates at once. Like I feel like she saved up her delicates and she's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna fold my laundry here." And at first I was like, "Meh," and then I was like, that is the only place in that apartment to actually fold and put away your laundry. And she was like, "Do you want to sit on the couch?" And he was like, "No." And she's like, "Well, there's nowhere else to do this."
Well, I'm gonna do my laundry.
Yeah, so she dumps all of her like sexy underwear in front of him, and he's like, "Oh my god." So he says, "I think I will sit on the couch." And she smiles, and he walks over and sits on the couch awkwardly. Now, what you need to remember is Madison is the hottest of hot girls. Okay? And I feel like she is testing Sam throughout this whole like set of scenes to see what kind of guy he is. So he doesn't make any lechy remarks about her underwear.
Yeah.
He's not weird. He's
like
shy.
A boss and
he's cute. Exactly. He actually proves himself to be like a decent human being, which is novel in her world. So he goes to sit on the couch, and then there's a phone call, and Dean says, "Let me guess, you're sitting on her couch like a stiff trying to think of something to say." And Sam has this look on his face like, "How do you know?" And he just says, "Did you find Kurt?" And Dean says, "No, he hasn't been at work at all week. But because I'm good, and I mean really, really good, I got a line on where he might be." And then he gets into the Impala, and then he says, kind of creepily, "What is she wearing?" And Sam goes, "Bye, Dean." And then he hangs up, which that's what he deserved. That's what he deserved. So Madison comes to sit down by Sam on the TV, and she turns on a soap opera, and Sam makes this face like, "Why?" But he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything because he's a nice guy. And she says, "I saw that." And Sam's like, "Saw what?" And she's laughing and she says, "Listen, this is the deal. It's my house, it's my TV. I never get to watch my shows, so suck it up." Which he does. And then they watch it for hours, I guess, because then the credits roll and Sam's sitting all the way forward on the couch, like riveted with this soap opera. Like, this is the best thing he's ever seen. He's so invested. And he says, "Wait, so Kendall married Ethan's father just to get back at him?" And Madison says, "Yep. And now she's set to inherit all the casinos that were supposed to go to Ethan." And Sam says, "What a bitch." And he like genuinely means it. It's so funny. And they crack up. And Madison's like, "Admit it, you're hooked." And Sam goes, "No, no, 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 no. I wouldn't say I'm hooked." And she's laughing at him because he's clearly lying. And he says, "Can I ask you a question? It's a little personal." And Madison says, "You've seen my entire underwear collection. Go ahead." Which it's so funny. It's like pure banter. And Sam says, "Okay, well, you're clearly smart. I mean, your house is full. It's full of great books, and you're independent." And the thing is, like, when he's looking around, we're reminded that Sam is like super intelligent. And this is one of the first times that he sat down with a girl who's also super intelligent. And I like that they show that about Madison. And Madison says, "Uh-huh." And Sam says, "What were you doing with Kurt?" And she says, "I don't know. I mean, it's not like he introduced himself like, 'Hi, I'm possessive and controlling and I like to punch people. Want to be my girlfriend?'" And they laugh about that. And Sam says, "Yeah, well, I guess we all make mistakes." And she says, "Yeah, well, mine's wanted by the police." And then she pauses and she says, You want to know why I stayed with him, really?" He nods. And she says, "I was too insecure to leave." And Sam says, "I find that hard to believe. I mean, you don't really seem like the type." And Madison says, "Well, some stuff happened and my life changed. I changed for the better, I think." And Sam says, "What happened?" And Madison says, "Well, for one thing, I got mugged." And Sam is shook. And he says, "And that's supposed to be a good thing?" And Madison laughs and she says, "I know it sounds strange. And don't get me wrong, it rattled me. But then it hit me. I could keep feeling sorry for myself or I could take control of my life. And I chose the latter. And the first thing I did was tell Kurt he had to go." And Sam says, "Smart move." And Madison says, "Apparently. Everything else just opened up, blossomed, and it's all been wonderful, really." And Sam kind of shrugs, and she says, "What? Doesn't everybody think that being a victim of random violence is the best thing that ever happened to them?" And Sam laughs and says, "Yeah, not so much." And he says, "You're unusual." And Madison says, "Unusual like crazy?" And Sam says, "No, no, 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 no. Unusual like impressive." And he really means it. And I thought that this was like so adorable. I was like 100 points to Laura. Sam is peak. Okay.
Yeah.
Sam
Well,
gets all the trophies. He's perfect.
this whole scene, when it comes back and he's like a bit more comfortable and he's taking his jacket off and stuff when he's watching the soap opera, he's just really hot in this whole bit. And also, I made a little side note to say, if independence is his thing, he'd totally love me if he met me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, amazing. So, Sam's about to answer her in the middle of their conversation when his phone rings and it's Dean.
Oh, Dean.
And always interrupting at the wrong time. So Dean, who is at a strip club, says, "I found him." And Dean is literally watching a stripper strip and do her thing while barely looking at Kurt. Like, he's just living his best life.
Kurt could have walked out of that building and he wouldn't have had any clue.
100%. And he's saying, "Oh, yeah, my eyes are glued. Look, Sammy, I gotta let you go. I don't want to miss anything." Like, he's watching Kurt so intently, when in fact he's putting dollar bills in somebody's waistband in her underwear. And I was like,
I can't
Dean.
with him.
I know. I wrote down Dean at the strip club with Kurt. Lol. Like, I just, what level are you on? What level are you on? Like, it's just, oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, Dean.
So then we cut back to Madison's apartment, and it's nighttime, and she joins Sam in the living room while he watches the full moon from the window. And she says, "So, I'm gonna turn in." And he says, "Okay, yeah, well, I'll be here." And Madison says, "Okay." And it's like a little bit awkward. Like, they don't really know what to do with each other, but it's adorable awkward. And Sam says, "If you hear anything, I mean, if you wake up, just call out." And he wants her to know that he's not coming on to her, but that he's trying to protect her. I wrote Sam wins and I drew a trophy in my notes. And I wrote down 100 points to Laura. Thirst trap.
I had a bit here, and I'm just going to read out because it says Sam is staring out of the window, observing the full moon, looking like a snack.
Yeah.
He's just so cute in this whole thing.
He really is.
In this whole episode, actually.
100% he wins the episode.
So yeah, so we're in the middle of the night now, and Dean is outside Kurt's, keeping an eye on his apartment, and he looks away for a second to make sure his silver bullet gun is loaded. Silver bullet gun. Then hears smashing glass and sees Kurt's window is smashed. He runs up there and kicks the door in. And I bet it's always hot when he breaks doors down.
Fact.
He finds a dead Kurt and werewolf Madison, who then pushes Dean across the room, who drops the gun, goes to attack him, but he stabs her in the arm with a knife. She then jumps out the window to escape, and then Dean passes out.
She knocks him out. It's great. She hit him so hard that he just goes "Ugh," and he basically faints, which is hilarious. And I wrote down Dean is standing by the garbage where he belongs today because fact that's where he should be. He is being garbage this whole episode, and he should just stay in the garbage. I wrote down that when he runs and kicks the door in, that's a thirst trap. And that was my first Dean thirst. That tells you how hard mad I was at him this whole episode, because that's the first thirst trap that I have. And then I wrote down, oh, this is fun. So she's eating Kurt's heart, absolutely savage, freaky eyes, claws, gore, thriving. Dean tries to stop her, which is just kind of rude. She attacks him because, don't stop a girl from snacking on her evil ex. Then she knocks Dean out, and I was like, I hope Sam doesn't let him live that down.
Yeah. So in the morning, Sam gets a call from Dean, who tells him Madison is the werewolf. And Sam's like, what? He goes to Madison's room and tells Dean it can't be her because she's still in bed and she's been there the whole time. And Dean tells him to check her arm, as that's where he nicked her with the silver knife.
Mm-hmm.
Madison wakes up as Sam puts the phone down and he sees the knife wound on her arm. Madison notices that she's naked and thinks Sam has something to do with it. I have a question here. Why is she naked? Because she had clothes on when she left the apartment and she still looked pretty human. It's not like, in American Werewolf in London where they break out of the clothes, Hulk out of the clothes. That doesn't seem to be a thing for these kind of werewolves, but apparently she's naked.
Yeah. So, I'm going to say the male gaze, honestly.
Well, yeah. Because there isn't a reason for her to not have any clothes on.
There's no real reason for it. Because, they keep their clothes for all the transitions. So it's literally just, the male gaze.
Obs.
Yep.
Anyway, Sam storms out of the room all upset, and Madison follows, asking what's going on and where he's going. But he just locks the front door, puts the chain on and says, I'm not going anywhere. And neither are you. And I wrote, why is this hot? He's being mildly threatening and angry, but also upset.
It's
I have strange mixed feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, I can confirm. I didn't
really like this next bit. Made me uncomfortable. It was like evil Sam again.
Yeah, it was kind of like a return to that, because we know he's not the bad guy, but we also know how Madison is feeling, and it's so scary.
Yeah.
So when we cut back in, she's in a chair and she's tied to the chair. Everywhere that she can be tied to the chair, she's tied to the chair, and Sam's holding a gun. And she's saying, you're psychotic. The whole I'm a cop term. God, I'm so stupid. And Sam says, well, I guess neither of us are who we said we were, huh? Because he's mad because he thinks that she's just a dyed-in-the-wool werewolf and she's been lying to him this whole time.
Yeah.
And
also,
he's upset.
She has clothes on now, so presumably
magically
he dressed her.
Oh, no. That's wrong.
Or she dressed herself. She had time to dress herself.
He would never. Yeah, so Madison says, Sam, you're sick, okay? You're imagining things. Monsters don't exist, not really. And Sam's like, you know what? Save the act. And Madison's crying, and she says, it's not an act. I am not a werewolf. There's no such thing. It's made up, all right? They're not real. You know they're not real. And Sam says, no. And then he points to the silver knife wound and says, then where did that come from? And she says, I don't know. Sam, God, you need help. Please don't do something that you're going to regret. I'm not what you think I am. I'm not. And, like, she's shaking and crying, and it's horrible because we also
Yeah.
know that recently she was mugged, right? From
Yeah.
her point of view, she was
Trauma.
physically mugged and attacked. She's, like, triple traumatized. This poor girl has
Did
been through
you
enough.
did you believe her at this point then? Because I was like, I wasn't sure whether she was gaslighting him or whether she was genuinely, like,
I believed
confused or didn't
her.
know.
So it was, like, awful because I still had thought that Kurt was the werewolf.
Yeah.
And then he ends up dead, and in my head, I thought, "Oh, there's another werewolf out there then." So
Yeah.
I still thought that he was the werewolf, but then he'd been killed by, like, another, like,
Another
wolf,
one. Yeah.
maybe,
I
and
did
so there was
believe her as
another
well.
monster.
Yeah.
Um,
I said
yeah,
I
so
believed her and felt sorry for her because she's now being held hostage in her own house. But I also
yeah,
feel bad for Sam because he likes her and has found out that she's a quote unquote monster.
yeah. So Dean burst in at this point and says, "How you doing?" "My head feels great. Thanks." To Madison sarcastically, and I laughed. I was like
Same.
and Sam says, "We've gotta talk." And then he takes Dean into the other room and he says, "She says she has no idea what I'm talking about." And Dean's like, "She's lying." And Sam says, "Or maybe she really doesn't know she's changing. You know, maybe when the creature takes over, she blacks out." And Dean's fully deadpan and he says, like a really hot, incredible Hulk. "Come on, dude. She ganked her boss and her ex-boyfriend. That doesn't sound rash and unconscious." And Sam says, "Yeah, but what if it was Dean? I mean, what if some animal part of her brain saw both those guys as threats? Hell, the cop too." And Dean's like, "What are you, the dog whisperer now?" And Sam says, "Look, man, I don't know. There is something in her eyes." And Dean's like, "Yeah, she's killing people." And Sam says, "But if she has no control over it," and Dean says, "Exactly, she can't control it. Even if she's telling the truth, it's not going to change anything." Sam says, "I'm not putting a bullet through some girl's chest who has no idea what's happening." And I was like, "Oh."
Ah.
Because he's just a hero, okay? Dean's being an asshole. Dean's like, "Sam, she's a monster and you're feeling sorry for her?" Like, shut up, Dean. And Sam says, "Maybe I understand her." And then he kind of pauses and he says, "Look, there might be another way we can get the job done without having to waste her." And Dean says, "Are you thinking what I think you're thinking?" And Sam flips through their dad's journal and said, "Dad's theory, lycanthropy might have a cure if you kill the werewolf who bit you, severing the bloodline." And Dean says, "Might have a cure," meaning who the hell knows? And Sam says, "It's worth a shot." In my head was like, "That's a silver bullet joke." Um, so Dean says, "We don't even know where to start looking, right? All right. I mean, the puppy that bit her could be anyone, anywhere. It could have been years ago." And Sam realizes, like, you can see the light bulb moment go
Yeah.
on. He says, "No, no, I don't think so." And then they go back into the living room, and Sam says, "Madison, when were you mugged?" And she obviously doesn't want to answer the insane person who's tied her up and held her at gunpoint, which is fair. And then Sam does the charming everyone, everywhere thing that he does where he makes the puppy dog eyes. And he says, "Please, it's important. All right. Just answer the question." And she gives in because who wouldn't? And says, "About a month ago." And Sam says, "Did you see the guy?" And Madison says, "No, he grabbed me from behind." And Sam says, "Did he bite you?" And she's like, "How did you know that?" And Sam says, "Where?" And she says, "On the back of my neck," which, ew, because we know it's creepy pillar of the community,
Uh,
sad Glen. He disgusts me on every level.
yeah.
So then they look at the back of her neck and there's this gross, weird, scarred, clearly like wolfish bite on the back of her neck. And Dean says, "Oh, that's just a love bite. Believe me, that could have been a lot worse. Where were you at the time?" Because he's like, werewolves could have taken your head off. So he's like,
Yeah.
This is weird." And Madison says that she was walking home from a friend's loft. And Sam says, "Let me guess, not too far from Hunter's Point." And she nods because that's where Pillar of the Community's favorite hunting grounds are.
Mhm.
So Sam and Dean go back into the other room, and Sam closes the door and turns around to talk to Dean. And he says, "That's the same place where those other murders happened. I'm telling you, it's a werewolf's hunting grounds." And Dean says, "Maybe, but that doesn't mean it's going to be out there tonight." And Sam says, It's the right time of the lunar cycle. Look, I know it's a long shot." And Dean says, "Hey, you're forgetting something. Maddie's probably going to turn soon, all right? We can't just let her take off to an all-you-can-eat buffet." And Sam says, "I'll stay with her." And I was like, Sam is the MVP. Um,
Yeah.
and I wrote, "I'm Sam curious all episode long for this whole episode now." That I'll stay with her was everything. 10 out of 10. And Dean says, and if she busts loose, Sam, and Sam says, I'll do it. And Dean says, Sam, and Sam says, I'll shoot her, all right? But Dean, I need you to go out there. At least go looking for the thing. Dean, please, we could save this girl. And
He
that's
wants
really
to save
beautiful.
her because then he feels like he can be saved.
Yeah, exactly. And Dean knows that. So Dean takes it in. And I wrote, Dean looks at him and he loves his brother and he knows what this is about. And so he says yes. And I wrote, that's season 1, Dean. Ah, faith restored him, Dean. Thank God. Because this whole episode, he belonged in the trash. So I was like, oh, okay. And then Dean, after a pause, kind of realizes how intense Sam's feelings are and takes it all in. And he says, fine. And Sam nods. And Dean leaves the apartment and Sam goes to rejoin Madison, who's still crying in the other room. And she's saying, please just let me go. And Sam looks at her really sympathetically and pulls up this chair to sit in front of her. And he says, look, I know you're scared. I also know there's no way in hell you're going to believe me, but I'm doing this because I'm trying to help you. I'm not going to lie, all right? The odds aren't exactly in our favor. But if this goes the way that I pray it does, I'll untie you and I'll walk out that door and I'll never come back. You'll live the rest of your life and I'll just be a bad memory. And Sam is really like on the verge of tears. And I just wrote, oh, Sammy.
Aww.
It's so sad. It's so heart-wrenching, that scene.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's nighttime and we cut to Hunter's Point, and a woman who is a sex worker is walking the street alone, and she stops when she hears an animal howling and looks really nervous. And then we cut back to Madison's apartment, and Sam is watching the full moon while Madison sits in the chair, and suddenly her fingernails grow, stretching into horrible claws. Her eyes turn like electric blue, and she bares her fangs. Sam turns just as she breaks loose from the chair. She knocks him to the ground, but he gets up so fast and aims his gun at her. And that part's super tense. But we cut immediately back to Hunter's Point, so they're doing that back and forth, like building the tension thing. And it works really well for these scenes. Like, it's like really intense and kind of like jump scary. So our sex worker is running down the street when suddenly she comes face to face with this animal. And we watch from the wolf's perspective as it's chasing her down the street, and she's so scared. And I wrote, this poor girl down by the docks does not live, laugh, loving. And I was like, Dean, where the fuck are you? Like, come save her. So then we cut to Madison's apartment, and Sam keeps his gun aimed at Madison. Just as she lunges at him, he moves out of the way, forcing her into her bedroom. And then he manages to move her entertainment center in front of the door, trapping her in that room, basically. Yeah. Which was so smart and so hot. And he realistically moves this giant thing across because he's big and strong, and that was pretty sexy, not gonna lie. Laura gets points for that. So then we cut to Hunter's Point, and the werewolf catches up with our sex worker, and he's dragging her screaming across the pavement. And then Dean goes, hey. And we all know that's a thirst trap. Okay. And he gets a headshot and a heart shot, and I just wrote thirst trap. And then this poor girl runs away, like as you would. And Dean's like, hey, don't mention it. But basically, when Dean does these shots, we realize that the werewolf is Madison's neighbor, sad Glen, pillar of the community. So much sarcasm, honestly. And Glen says, it happened again. Where am I? Oh God, oh God. And I have no sympathy for him. He's like, help me. And it's like, okay, what about all the women that you just murdered? And why would you bite your name? Because you're a sad prick. Like, you are a serial killing sad prick, and I hate you so much. And then Glen dies, and it's like a death scene. And I wish he would die more because he's gross. But yeah, that was very satisfying. And it was very classic werewolf horror. Like, his whole death scene is really brutal. Again, it gives me like American Werewolf vibes. Yeah. 10 out of 10 on the horror. Gory, scary. Yeah, scary. Like, not heart-wrenching for me, but heart-wrenching if you are a different person from me. It would probably be kind of sad. I have no sympathy for him because he's disgusting. And this is where I'm going to put my Easter egg in. Because it's a werewolf and a horror Easter egg. And this is where it should go. Okay, so I did a little bit of background research and I found that there have, because I was like, have there been any recent murders or historic murders where the hearts were actually removed from the victims? Turns out, yes. Okay. Turns out, yes. Turns out
Oh.
in somewhat recent times. So the first one was the murder of Mabel Lycaon. And during her murder, her heart was completely removed. And then the second one, the killer's name was Andre Lee Thomas. And this took place in Sherman, Texas, again, not really that long
Mm.
ago. And he cut open the chests of all three victims and removed two of their hearts. Um, so one of the things that is brought up in the werewolf mythos, which we sort of touched on a little bit previously, is this quote from a werewolf article that I found, and I think it bears sort of like repeating and thinking about. And it says, an idea that is explored in Sabine Baring Gould's work, The Book of Werewolves, is that werewolf legends may have been used to explain serial killings. Perhaps the most infamous examples is the case of Peter Stump, executed in 1589, which we covered before.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
The German farmer and alleged serial killer and cannibal, also known as the Werewolf of Bedburg. So I was like, is it common among different werewolf myths around the world, like that the heart is eaten? Because I don't think that I'd really been aware of that part of the legend until I watched Supernatural. And I
No.
got a kind of like a Google overview, like an AI Google overview, and this is what it says. Yes, a common myth about werewolves is that they eat the hearts of their victims. So this starts with King Lycaon. And in Greek mythology, King Lycaon is said to have sacrificed his child and then transformed into a wolf. Like he tries to feed his kid to Zeus, basically, or to feed a child to Zeus. I can't remember if it's his own child that he gets tricked into doing it, but it's like really brutal and gross. And instead, what happens is Zeus tricks him into eating his own child. And then because of that beast like act, he's cursed to be a werewolf forever, basically.
That pesky Zeus.
Yeah. So this act is said to have cursed future werewolves to eat the hearts of their victims. And so like the most popular version of this myth is that Lycaon cooked and served his son Nyctimus to Zeus to test if Zeus was all-knowing. Zeus was disgusted and transformed Lycaon into a wolf while restoring Nyctimus to life. So in that version, which is the most popular version, Zeus is the hero. And I like to lean into that one because it has a happy ending for this poor
the
kid.
child doesn't die.
The child lives. They think that the purpose of this myth might have been to explain the Lycia, which is a ceremony held on a mountain called Lycius to honor Zeus Lycius, so an aspect of Zeus. Now there are rumors that this ceremony involved human sacrifice and lycanthropy, but that's not proven. That's just like a story that's told. So they think that that might be like the root of that particular story. So the Roman writer Ovid, or Ovid, if you want to be really correct, connected his transformation to his greed, impiety, and murderous action. So basically, there is this overarching kind of thing where werewolves are often associated with just terrible deeds, as we saw with Peter Stump, that the mythos tends to be tied to like evil actions in a lot of different sections of werewolf myth.
Yeah.
So then there's another section of the myth where it goes on to say from a different page that they are said to be attracted to people who have wronged them in the past. So when we look at Madison, Madison is more of like a justice-seeking version of the werewolf because she's only going after the people who have done her wrong. So that's really interesting. Other werewolf myths include the tradition that to be a werewolf, you must first be a bad human, which was the belief about werewolves in the Austrian and Bavarian Alps until the 18th century. And there's a quote here that says, the part of Europe which showed more vigorous interest in werewolves after 1650 was the Holy Roman Empire. At least 9 works of lycanthropy were printed in Germany between 1649 and 1679. In the Austrian and Bavarian Alps, belief in werewolves persisted well into the 18th century. As late as 1853, in Gallica, northwestern Spain, Manuel Blanco Romansanta was judged and condemned as the author of a number of murders, but he claimed not to be guilty because of his condition of lobosome, or that he was a werewolf. So it's
Uh
also been used as a defense by people who are apparently serial killers. Just like, no,
huh.
no, 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 it's not my fault. I'm a werewolf. And then I found another one that I thought was really interesting that kind of reminds me of when we were talking about Black Shuck before. This one
Yeah.
is the beast of, and I'm guessing at this pronunciation, Gavaldon. Um, and it's the historic name of a man-eating animal or animals that terrorized the former province of Gavaldon, considered the modern-day department of Lozère and Haute-Loire in the Marguerite Mountains of south central France between 1764 and 1767. And this one's creepy. So it says the attacks, which covered an area spanning 90 by 80 kilometers, which is 56 by 50 miles, were said to have been committed by one or more beasts of a tawny russet color with dark streaks or stripes, and a dark stripe down its back, a tail longer than a wolf's, ending in a tuft, according to contemporary eyewitnesses. It was said to attack with formidable teeth and claws and appeared to be the size of a calf or a cow, and seemed to fly or
Oh.
bound across the fields to its victims. The Kingdom of France, this is where it's interesting because it's historic and there are actual like royal records of this and this description, which is what I find fascinating. So it says they used a considerable amount of wealth and manpower to hunt the animals responsible, including the resources of several nobles, soldiers, royal huntsmen, and civilians. The number of victims differs according to the source. A 1987 study estimated that there had been 210 attacks, resulting in 113 deaths and 49 injuries. 98 of the victims killed were partially eaten.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Hmm. And it basically says that from the end of August well into September, victims were consistently recorded in the Merquoir forest or its surroundings. Throughout the remainder of 1764, more attacks were reported through the region. Very soon, terror gripped the populace because the beast was repeatedly preying on lone men, women, and children as they tended livestock in the forest around Gavaudan. Reports note that the beast seemed to only target the victims' head or neck regions. Some witnesses claimed the beast had supernatural abilities. They believed that it could, quote, walk on its hind legs and feet like humans, which is interesting because this is how the werewolves are kind of in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
They believe the beast performed astounding leaps. They also believe that the beast could repel bullets and come back from the dead after being struck and wounded. End quote.
Oh. Well, even silver bullets.
So they don't mention silver bullets. So, but it
That's what they
makes,
needed them.
yeah, this is what I'm thinking here. This is what I'm thinking. So I just thought that that is a fantastic historic example of origins of werewolves. And then also you can see how that Beast of Godon kind of feeds into a lot of werewolf myths, like that they can move so fast that they can make these huge leaps, that they can walk like people and be bipedal, while having wolf-like characteristics like the tail, the
Yeah.
claws, the teeth, the fangs. Um, it just really sounds like what we encounter in this episode with these kinds of werewolves, where they're sort
Yeah.
of human. And then the fact that you can shoot them, but unless you shot them with exactly the right ammunition, it was like your holy blessed silver. It wasn't going to do you any good.
No. Ah. I had a question about the second to last thing you were talking about, because
Hmm.
you mentioned about how they just go after people that have wronged them, and that's a bit like how Maddie is.
Yeah.
Do you think that means that werewolves know that they're werewolves? So, like, because Madison is saying that she didn't know what was going on, and we
Yeah.
believe her.
Yeah.
But Glen, no, yeah, Glen, pillar of the community, Glen, um,
Pillar of the
he bit
community.
her,
Yeah.
obviously, to turn her instead of killing her. So he must have had some awareness of what he was doing and who he was actually going after. It wasn't just the
Hmm.
wolf was taken over. So,
I think that both in the episode and also in the lore, there are two kinds of werewolves. I think there is the serial killer kind of werewolf, which is what pillar of the community Glen is. He's
Oh,
clearly a
okay.
Jack the Ripper type. And then I think
Yeah.
there's the vengeful version of the werewolf where there's someone who's wrongfully turned into a werewolf, cursed, bitten,
Uh,
attacked, right?
yeah.
And then they tend to really only target people who have wronged them.
They don't turn into the same kind of werewolf as the person who turned them necessarily then.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
So yeah, so all of that is going to be in my show notes as well as the true crime details if that's something that interests you guys. But yeah, that's the lore drop for the episode. I hope you enjoyed that Easter egg.
cool. I like werewolf stuff. Like
Hmm.
Dean.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm a total werewolf nerd. He's nerding out in that one scene, and I'm like, yes. I thought it was really cool.
So the next morning, Madison wakes up in the closet. I wrote that she was in a closet, and you said in the bedroom. Was it in whatever it was?
She's in a
Um,
room.
she's in a room, yeah, and it has so many scratches all over the like the inside of the door and the walls because obviously she was a wolf.
Yeah.
And Sam is standing in the doorway, all scratched up and all emo, as he usually is, saying that she never has to see him again. Then she looks around the room at the carnage that she's created as a werewolf and turns back to Sam, but he's gone. And then in the Impala outside Madison's place, Dean is telling Sam about Glen and how sad it was. And they discuss why Glen turned Madison instead of killing her. Dean then asks Sam about his feelings for Madison as she taps on the window.
That part's so funny.
Yeah. And she says, for a stakeout, your car is kind of conspicuous. I mean, that's
Yeah.
true.
I'm pretty sure that Laura's actually pointed this out before. So, like, 5 points to
When Dean's
Laura.
following people, like,
Yeah. I think
really
it's the
close
most
behind him.
conspicuous tail. Yeah, because you said that the Impala is not exactly like a subtle car.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, she asks why they're still there. And Dean says they need to make sure she doesn't turn again tonight. And she says, well, they might as well wait inside then. And then they all go inside.
Yep. And I wrote down that I was dead because it was so funny. Because when she knocks on the window, it's a jump scare for him,
Yeah.
and that's hilarious. Um,
And he's just
and
been
then
talking about her, so he's just
it
like
is
being caught
just
talking.
doing, yeah, it's so funny. It's so funny. I love it so much.
So they all go inside, and Madison and Sam have a moment when she says she knows he was telling the truth and that she turned, and they're just staring at each other. And Dean's third wheeling, looking at them.
Yeah.
And she asks when they'll know if she's cured, and Sam says she changed at midnight last time, so they need to wait until sunup. And Dean says that they have a few hours to kill then and asks if anyone wants to play poker.
Yeah.
And then we get a scene where, so it's nighttime now, and Dean puts a gun on the table. This bit was weird because that's all he does. He puts a gun on the table, and Sam and Madison are on the sofa, and they just turn to look at him,
Yeah.
and he says, "No, you guys talk," or something like that. What does he say?
I think they silently communicate that he's being a third wheel and they would like really like him to just leave. And
Uh,
then he awkwardly says, "Oh no, you guys talk." And then they're watching the sun come up.
I wonder if he was making a noise on purpose to get some attention because he does that sometimes if
Yeah.
people are ignoring him.
Yeah, he does. I think he was like sad boying in the corner, being like, "Pay attention to me." Um, so yeah, so the sun comes up and they think that the curse is broken. And Madison's like, "Oh God, thank you. Thank you so much." And she gives Sam this big hug and Dean clears his throat in the background. And Madison laughs at him and is like, "You too, Dean. Thank you." Oh God, it's so funny.
Like, don't ignore Dean. He won't let you.
No, and Dean's like, "Oh, don't mention it." And then there's this awkward pause, and he says, "So I'm just gonna head back to the hotel." And you can see him like not know what to say, and then he just says, "Watch some pay-per-view or something." And then he's pumping his fist as he's leaving, like, "Sam's gonna get some."
Yeah,
And
Madison's like,
Madison,
that
"That
was
was
smooth.
smooth." Yeah. Um, so Sam says he means well, but and Madison's like, "You mean he thinks you're gonna get laid?" And Sam's like, "Look, and Madison's like, "It's okay." And Sam's like, "No, I know I scared the crap out of you, all right? I mean, I tied you to a chair." And Madison said, "That's right up there with me scratching up your face." And Sam says, "There's just no way we could go back, before it happened. And Madison's like, you're right. There's just no way. And then Sam shakes his head, and then they just make out. Like,
Yeah.
there's this whole force of gravity between them in this scene that none of us could possibly do justice. It's amazing. And they're just like all over each other. He pushes her up against the wall and music starts playing and it's super hot. And then they just kind of strip each other off. And Jared Padalecki is insanely ripped. He's a beast. This scene is so hot. And then we basically just get like these really classy montage shots of them having the sexy times, like all night long, just the whole time. And then the full moon rises. And Sam wakes up and looks around and he hears a growling. He turns to see Madison, who's turned back into a werewolf again.
Uh-oh.
And then before Sam can catch her, she jumps out of the window.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an uh-oh. It's so like it's just I wrote emotional damage.
Yeah.
So Sam runs down the hall to Dean's room, pounding on the door, and Dean answers, and Sam says she turned, and Dean's like, "What?" And Sam says, "I couldn't grab her in time," and like his heart is visibly breaking when he says that, and
Yeah.
and Dean actually comes through and is like the Dean that I know and love, and he says, "We'll find her, Sammy." So they're looking for her everywhere. And Sam saying, I already called Bobby. He doesn't know anything except that he knew severing the bloodline wouldn't work. That's everyone. They all say it's impossible to reverse it. And
Maybe
Dean
they
says,
should have
how?
called Bobby first.
I
Just saying.
mean, yeah. Dean says, how come she didn't turn when we were with her? And Sam says, Dean. And Dean says, so when you put her to bed and then she like wolfed out, maybe she's got to be asleep to turn. Sam says, what the hell does it matter, Dean? Look, we've got to find some way to help her, some legend we missed or something. And Dean says, if there was, don't you think someone would have known it? And Sam says, well, we've got to look harder until we find something. And Dean says, Sammy, I don't think we've got a choice here anymore. And Sam's like, what? And Dean says, I hate to say it, she's a sweet girl, but part of her is, and Sam says, evil. And Dean says, yeah. Sam says, yeah, that's what they say about me, Dean. So me, you won't kill, but her, you're just going to blow away. And then his phone rings and he answers it and it's Madison. And she sounds like she's basically crying. She's like, Sam. And Sam says, Madison, where are you? And she says, I don't know where I am. And he says, well, do you see any street signs? And she's like, yeah, middle point. And he says, all right, hold on, Maddie. We're coming to get you. Just stay where you are. And it's so tense and so scary because, Dean wants to kill her and Sam wants to save her.
Yeah.
And that saving her or not saving her is a metaphor for whether or not we think Sam can be saved.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just, like, it's like actively ripping your heart out.
Definitely.
So Madison tells him that she doesn't remember anything. And then she's really uncomfortable and sad. And she says, I probably killed someone last night, didn't I? And Dean says, there's no way to know yet. And Madison says, is there something else we can try to make it go away? And Sam says, we'll find something. I mean, there's got to be some answer somewhere. And Dean says, that's not entirely true. Madison, you deserve to know. We've scoured every source. There's just no cure. And like, this is where I come back to leave Madison alone. Because we don't know that she killed anybody, except for the jerks who were awful to her. Like, I feel like they gave up too soon. That is my rant. So Madison turns to Sam and asks if that's true. And Sam's basically crying and he turns away. And Dean says, well, we could lock you up at night, but you bust out and some night you will, someone else dies. And he says, I'm sorry, I am. And like, not to ruin the heroics of it all, but like you could build a werewolf proof cage. You can make it out of, you would like line it with silver. Like you're the Winchesters. You have Bobby. Like, I don't know. It just feels like there wasn't enough effort put into like, and then she could be their badass werewolf chick and Sam could have a werewolf girlfriend. And then when they're hunting demons and it's a full moon, maybe they just, let her out and she kills the demons for them. Like,
sidekick.
Guys, come on.
Werewolf sidekick.
Exactly. So, Madison's crying because they think that there's no way for anyone to stop her from killing people and she's just cursed. And she says, so I guess that's all there is to it then. And Sam's like, stop it. Don't talk like that. And Madison says, Sam, I don't want to hurt anyone else. I don't want to hurt you. And then she picks up the gun and she brings it to him. And he says, put that down. And she says, "I can't do it myself. I need you to help me." And Sam says, "Madison, no." And Madison says, "Sam, I'm a monster." And Sam says, "You don't have to be. We could find a way, all right? I can. I'm going to save you." And Madison's crying harder. And she says, "You tried. I know you tried, but this is all there is left. Help me, Sam. I want you to do it. I want it to be you." And Sam says, "I can't." And Madison says, "I don't
Oh.
want to die. I don't, but I can't live like this. This is the way you can save me. Please, I'm asking you to save me." And then Sam shakes his head and Dean walks over to them and then he takes the gun from Madison and Sam walks into another room. And there's some sad music playing and Sam's crying and Dean comes in and he says, "Sam, I'm sorry." And Sam's crying even more and he says, "No, you're right. She's right." And Dean says, "Sammy, I got this one. I'll do it." Because as always, Dean just wants to protect Sam.
Yeah, this is sweet.
And Sam says, "She asked me to." And he goes full on like hero in my opinion because he obviously loves her. He obviously cares about her and she obviously loves him and cares about him and he has to be the one to do it, which is awful,
Yeah.
but it's also the kindest thing. And so Sam says, "Yes, I do. Please." And he's got rivers of tears now. And Dean hands him the gun and he says, "Just wait here."
This is when I was crying because I'm like, he
Yeah.
was crying so much.
Yeah, same. He glances back at Dean and he's shaking and tears are streaming before heading back to the living room. Dean is alone now and we see Dean crying. And then there's a gunshot. And then there's this close up of Dean and he jumps when he hears the gunshot
Yeah.
and he's crying more. And that's how you know. And it just makes it so horrific and so sad because like Dean hates when he can't save the girl.
Yeah.
He hates what this is doing to Sam. He
Mhm.
really liked Madison. He really wanted to save Madison. And so then he hears her die, and Dean, who never jumps at a gunshot, jumps at the gunshot because it's horror. It's a horrible moment, and
Yeah.
it's
And knowing
so unbelievably
that
sad.
Sam's had to do it and how Sam's feeling as well.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
really sad.
all of it.
I just write, bloody hell, what an ending at the end of my notes. 'Cause it's
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, how is the next episode gonna start? Is what I wanna know.
I know, right? I just wrote crying emojis.
Yeah.
Like, just emojis crying, but with more and more tears.
I was literally in tears, and I don't think I cried. I don't think I've cried in Supernatural yet. Oh, maybe
Mm,
when John died, actually.
yeah,
I think I cried then, but they're the only
yeah,
2 episodes I think I've cried at so far.
yeah. Like, it's honestly absolutely heart-wrenching. Like, the
Mm.
werewolf tears your heart out, literally, and then emotionally.
This episode tore my heart out.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we do the games for this episode?
Yes, villain hot or not? Who are we classing as a villain? Because I mean, it's technically Madison, but
Mm,
she's not really.
yeah, Madison is not really the villain. Glen is definitely the actual villain, pillar of the community, Glen. He
Yeah, not
disgusts
hot.
me, so no, not hot.
Do you think Madison's hot though?
Madison is hot.
Mhm.
Madison is a 10 out of 10. Yes, hot, sexy villain. She should have been let to live. She's an anti-hero, not a villain though, but she should like maybe a morally gray character.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's not her fault that she's a werewolf.
Exactly.
Episode scare rating.
I give it like an 8, I think, because the gore is really, really, really good. It's not super jumpy, but it is creepy and
Yeah.
gross and definitely scary in places. So it's not quite to the level of Bloody Mary, where if I was watching it alone in my house at night, I would be terrified and concerned.
We'll have to
Um,
mute it.
yeah. But I would be scared and uncomfortable for sure. Like it's a
Mm.
creepy episode.
See, I only gave it a 4. I think maybe I need to give it a bit higher. I said it's not really scary. The gore was really good, but it was more sad. Maybe I was just being
You were thirst trapped by Sam so hard
I was
that you
blinded
were
by the last scene being sad.
you were blinded by the sadness and the Samness.
I'll just go up to maybe a 5. I'll just give it a 5
Okay.
instead.
Okay.
What was your favourite quote?
I have it written down. One sec. Let me just find it real quick. Oh, it's the rock, paper, scissors script.
Yeah, mine is as well.
Yeah.
Well, mine is just Sam saying, Dean, always with the
Always with the
scissors.
scissors. Yeah.
And it's actually only wrote one quote down this time.
Wow.
But it's the same one. This is why I do 2, you see, normally.
Let me look and see if I can choose. Nope, that's the one. Yeah, but I had done like this the whole scene, just like that entire piece of dialogue. So I guess technically they're different.
Okay. Yeah, mine was specifically that little bit. There's traps.
When Sam says unusual, like impressive to Madison, that was my thirst trap of the episode. That one's awesome.
I think I'm going to go with... You know what? I've written 3 things down. I don't think I'm going to go with any of them. But it's either the bit near the end where Madison's like, I guess that's it then. And his reaction is hot when he's like, don't talk like that. How his face looked was hot. But I actually think I'm going to go with when they're watching the soap opera and he's like being really awkward, and then it comes back and he's really comfortable. And he's like taking his jacket off. I think I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
MVP has got to be Sam, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
And we didn't have a motel. Oh no, we did have a motel.
Yeah, there's little
We
bits,
didn't really see inside.
Yeah, but we don't see inside. So I think we can really only rate her apartment, because I don't think that we see the motel. And her apartment is okay, but like doesn't grab me. So I guess I give it a 5.
Yeah, I don't think I remember really what her apartment was, so I'll just go with you. I haven't looked up what the next episode is, so I've got no idea. But that one is good. I'm hoping it's another... What episode are you on? 17. So there's probably maybe another Monster of the Week kind of one before we get into going towards it'll be like main storyline after that, I should think.
Yeah. Let
me have a quick look.
I didn't look either. I'm gonna go see what the title is and just see
I'm just gonna have a look to see what title.
Point.
Oh, it's called Hollywood Babylon.
Oh, that's a good episode. I'm excited. And then the next one after that is also really good.
Are they both like Monster of the Weeky ones before we... And then there's 3 episodes left, which I'm assuming will be main storyline then. So
I would say that 1, 2, 3, the next 3 are actually monster episodes. And then we get into the main storyline episodes for 21, which is a 2-parter.
Nice. I like the Monster of the Week ones. It's like it's just like them doing their job, isn't it, really?
It's just Sam and Dean being Sam and Dean. It's the best thing in the world. Yeah.
I like those ones.
Yeah. Well, should we say goodbye to the people?
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would be very grateful. And if you know someone who would enjoy it, please share.
You can find us on Instagram at The Witches of Letters Podcast, or you can email us at thewitchesofletters@gmail.com.
Until next time, stay safe out there, have each other's backs, and always keep fighting.